So, how much are you willing to take chances? And, are you willing to go 11 tenths and take that risk that maybe it might not work out? If I did take a risk, those are the ones that I did, knowing I could get away with it. But it's kind of scary. I mean, it's like, wow, I don't know if I would do that again. There is no pressure like Pikes Peak. 99% of it is a head game. It really is. I mean, you have to control your emotions. You have to be aware of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. You got to sort of put all the pressure aside and just finish. To finish first you have to finish. Waiting on the start line is probably the cruelest thing you can do as a driver. It's not a sense of relief at all. It's a sense of even more pressure, just because, how could you possibly screw this up? Some people sort of feel sick to their stomach and they're like, ugh, I don't really want to do this, or I want to get this over with. That can mess with your head, and so, I've learned to just chill. As I've gotten older, I've found a way to just completely calm my nerves and, focus on what I'm about to do and not dwell on all the drama.
This really began with a desire to put a track test together for the GT2 RS Club Sport and the 935-19. To do so, you've got to wrap the GT2 RS Club Sport. That car is delivered with the expectation that you'll wrap it, so some parts of the car are just raw carbon. But it really wasn't a race car. It was a purely editorial project for a cover shoot. We decided to reinterpret Rare Shades into a race car. Rare Shades is a series of events held across North America that celebrate rare and unusual Porsche colors.
So with Rare Shades, we designed everything to really celebrate color. To do this car, we wanted to take that same approach, and we wanted the car to just sort of be this kind of expression of this sort of color. So the art car sort of came up on an editorial meeting. It was sort of intended as a editorial art project, basically. We had talked about doing a race car in the years prior, and suddenly, boom, hey, we're doing a race car. I poured through hundreds of liveries, maybe thousands, I don't know. And just kind of got a sense of what people had done and kind of pulling some ideas. I started looking at the Rare Shades art and I'm like, yeah, let's do this hybrid of 000 Rare Shades art, and kind of put it on this badass 911.
Once we knew that we wanted to do an art car for an editorial project and put this colorful car on the cover of the magazine, we started to think about what's the ultimate photo location. And that's Pikes Peak, without question. So we got in touch with photographer Larry Chen and Pikes Peak International Hill Climb and worked to see if we could secure the road for a photo shoot. And along with the road came David Donner. We went to Pikes Peak. We knew the backdrops would be incredible. And when we were up there with Larry and David and everybody else, it kind of occurred to me as I was outside of the car at one point that this is sort of the ultimate tease, that we've made this editorial project car that looks a bit like a race car, but really is an art car. And I realized that when people saw the photos, they would wonder, where was the car at Pikes Peak?
In photo shoots, they have you sort of get close to the edge, and, if you're not familiar with the road, it would be uncomfortable. So I said yes, I'd love to drive the car, and We went down there, drove both cars. I mean, it was a real treat to be able to do that. And I was saying goodbye to the crew and heading out, and they caught me and they said, "Oh, David, are you running Pikes Peak this year?" I went, "No, I haven't run for 4 years, and I'm really not interested unless it was a really cool car." And they're like, "What do you consider a cool car?" I said, "Well, that one," which is the car I'm driving. Their eyes just sort of lit up and went, "Wow, this could happen." Michelin and Meguiar's and Chopard and Huberger Motors and Champion Porsche funded this photo shoot. And so we went back to these sponsors and we started coming up with an idea of, let's run this car in the hill climb and see what happens. This all happened within 3 weeks, which is unheard of because other teams have been working on this since a year ago. You know, it's the first time I've ever driven this car. Getting the team familiar with the car, setup, adjusting things. It's not all about driving. It's about engineering and tire selection and car setup, and it's just, there's so many moving parts. We came into this way behind the 8 ball. I would say extreme underdog, just because, you're dealing with other teams that have high advanced racing backgrounds. They know what they're doing. They've been testing, and it's not really easy to make up all that just by driving fast. And that's what sort of lit me up to tackle this, was that it was a challenge. I mean, this is sort of the ultimate car. It's in a sense like a Porsche 911 race car, but it's got an extremely powerful motor. So it was a unique opportunity to take a car that's from the factory as is and go up and, I am actually shocked with how quick the car is. I mean, it's, all these teams fight themselves trying to develop equipment that will go this speed. And, this is a car just off the line that just goes right there. It's got everything that you'd want for Pikes Peak.
David Donner follows up next, the 000 car, the last American to be crowned King of the Mountain. 25th year of competition on Pikes Peak. David Donner is off and running there in that 000 Porsche.
I've done this race many times, probably 25 times. Pikes Peak is the most amount of work of any race ever, probably besides Le Mans or Indianapolis. In the past, I've had my doubts. I'm, maybe nervous. In this case, I know what I need to do, and it's all just kind of come together. One of the most challenging parts of the course this year are the bumps up top, and they morph. They literally change week to week. The problem is in a car like this is that it gets basically airborne when you're going over bumps at over 100 miles an hour. And so what that does is it doesn't allow you to brake because you're in the air. And so you have to find the best part of the course to be, and even if it's the wrong racing line, you're finding the part that's the smoothest. But on top of that, you have to adjust the suspension to absorb the bumps and not be airborne. So that was our goal. But on the flip side of that, you don't want to change the car too much because then you affect the handling in the bottom 2/3 of the course. So it's all a compromise.
Michelin tyres off to the right-hand side and off the pavement for a moment there. So David Donald really pushing hard in the 000. .5. So this is going to be a low to mid 10 if it can keep this pace up. How will the twin turbocharged beast do at the top as the air is getting thinner all the time?
This race has been an important part of my family. My grandfather on my father's side helped revive the race after the Second World War. And then my father in the late 50s, after he got out of the Marine Corps, his first attempt at the peak in 1959 was aborted due to weather conditions. But then he came back 3 more years in a Porsche RS61 and won. And my brother Bobby, he won the class in 1989 and set a record. And I was in the sister car of that in the open wheel, and I finished second. That fall, unfortunately, we were running another hill climb, and Bobby lost his life in a freak accident by hitting a deer. I didn't want to just quit racing and have it be the end. In 1991, I won overall, which was one of the greatest years. We were fast from the start, and it was just spectacular. And I went on to win 2 more times overall in 2002 and 2005. You know, at some point I have to give it up because, you know, the window's closing. I'm sort of the last of the family to do this. After me, it's just, you know, it's an end of an era. The time attack class, you know, that I'm entered in, Jeff Swart had entered a 935. I get word that Donahue has obtained a car to enter the open class. And I think he was doing that not to sort of step on Jeff's turf. And then we come along, 000 and Donner, and decide to jump in the pool and enter time attack. It turns out that the Donahue team pulled their car from open and decided to jump into time attack, which is like, oh my God, it's a 3-horse race. But they legally, you know, under the rules, changed the car. In my sense, they changed the car significantly, and there's no question it's faster. We made an agreement to keep the car stock and not change it. So Did they have to make all these changes to the car because they didn't think they could beat me or Jeff?
Back to that in a minute, because the time will be coming through in a second for David Donner. And there is David Donohue's car, the distinctive yellow and black Porsche number 911, so it is off the road.
When you have a competitor that goes in front of you, when they have an issue, as in this case, the Donahue car went off, and so I knew, wow, if he went off, then obviously something's up. That sort of put questions in my mind as to what, I was gonna face. I could see there was this, it almost looked like a truck had dropped gravel on the road, so the car was really a handful. I had turned off the traction control, the stability management, because I drove the car faster with everything off. And so I had to stand in and, act as computer. I saved the car from going off. I was pushing hard. So it was just a run that was just a typical race day run. You just drive it as you see it. You don't even think about, where am I going? You're just driving the road that's in front of you. So. I drove as hard as I could. Had I been chasing Donahue, or had I just do what I did, which is, finish first. But it was the legitimate competitive race. Having the 3 Porsches, that to me was just spectacular. I don't know if I'll ever come back. Possibly, but I'm not. Somebody would have to come to me with a great idea that would top this, and this project's going to be very difficult to top. So maybe this will be my last time. I'd rather end it on a win and a great effort than second. In the end, it all worked out, so it doesn't matter. So then I'm okay.